Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fifth season of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, kickoff month. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Before we get started, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. Now, if you're listening to this on our audio platforms, please download this episode and more episodes anywhere you can get the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I am so thrilled because the internet's favorite comedian and scam hunter is here. He studied improv at Groundlings in Second City and UCB, and as of this recording, has combined 7 million social media followers across Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. So please help me welcome Ryan Kelly to the podcast.
Hello, Jacob. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for helping me kickstart season 5 of my podcast.
Happy to be here. I love it. It was very sweet of you saying the internet's favorite, but the fun thing is when you just keep hyphenating it, eventually there's just nobody that does that. You know what I mean? Like stand-up, scam baiting, which is all true. It's just, that's the thing. Find your niche that's so specific that it's like, you're the favorite on the internet. Nobody else does that. So that's what I'm hoping to be. And I'm excited to share some of that chaos with you.
Awesome. So, Ryan, before we get started, I would love to learn the origin story behind Youth Pastor Ryan, who's your famous nickname.
Oh man, I always say that I look like a youth pastor, and that actually was part of my stand-up. Is the fact that I would make the joke that because I am the most generic white guy you've ever seen. I look like if Costco sold people, and I went to Christian school for like 18 years, and I think that because of that I just ended up looking like this, which is just like I look like every 50s TV show. And so it was just like, yeah, I'll make the joke. And then I needed a username, and Youth Pastor Ryan fit perfectly on TikTok's thing. And now I made the mistake where there are probably 1 or 2 million people that still think I'm a youth pastor, though I try to clarify it all the time. I am not. I just look like one. But that's the joke that got really out of hand.
And I gotta say, maybe, who knows, you could probably use that for Book of Mormon.
That I have had so many people tell me I look like, most people assume I'm Mormon just by the look of me. And no, it was never Mormon. I'm actually from Missouri. So yeah.
What part of Missouri?
St. Louis.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm Kansas City, so
What? No way. I didn't know that. Oh, we were just there last year. It was awesome. You guys have, there's a farm outside there that have Highland cows. We got to go pet Highland cows. They're the big floofy ones. It was awesome. It was a great time.
And I was in St. Louis last year for Challenge Mania at the Helium. It was a fabulous show.
So, that's great.
Yeah, so really cool. So we'll talk offline later about our Midwest things, or maybe come back for another podcast. But however, we're not here to talk about the Midwest. We're here to talk about you. So following that, how did you get interested in performing, and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in comedy?
I think that I started off in like, I don't know. It was kind of always built into me. I was that kid that my dad signed me up for T-ball, and when I would hit the ball and go to first base, inherently I would take a bow. And I feel like that's a sign that you're not meant for baseball, but you are definitely going to perform. Did like my school 6th grade play, and then it really was like having trouble kind of finding myself, where I was like pretty good at school, but I wasn't like I didn't play a lot of sports. And then for some reason my high school had an improv team, and the teacher had been taught by like Del Close, and so she had done like Second City and things like that, and so all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so I started doing that. Then I obviously started being trained with that, and I loved that performance aspect. Always enjoyed theater, but I also wanted to do on camera. The problem is I have a tremor. That's like, it's a neurological disorder called an essential tremor. So occasionally, and it's uncontrollable by me, my head will start shaking, which is not great for film. It is when you look like your own earthquake is happening. We've got enough of that in California. Like, that's not there. So I ended up doing stand-up because it was the only time that I could really talk about it and get people to laugh, bring awareness to it, and then it made everybody feel comfortable. Because otherwise, when people see someone who's just shaking, they're like, they get nervous. You know, they're like, oh, he's nervous, he's scared, they feel bad. And it's like, I'm fine. I just shake. And so that's kind of how I ended up in stand-up. as it just kind of started leaning that way, and it was the only thing that I could fully control and be able to explain kind of what was going on and make people comfortable with. And improv, there's only 4 dudes that have ever made money with that, and that's the Who's Line guys. So I didn't see that being a career anytime soon.
Absolutely. Gotta love whose line is it anyway, people. But I gotta say, I'm so grateful and so thankful that you're able to share that story with us today. That really means a lot.
Oh, of course, I appreciate it, and thanks for asking.
You're so welcome. So I gotta say, as someone that is a huge entertainment person, always love comedy, I gotta say, you have hit the home run, the golden crown, the royal crown improv comedy. Groundlings, Second City, and UCB. Three prestigious comedy schools.
Well, what's funny too is I also did an IO before they went under. I've done improv shop here in St. Louis. I've done Annoyance Theater in Chicago. I mean, I have I have spent way too much money on improv schools. Like, thank God I didn't get introduced to Scientology first, because that's where all the money would have gone. You know what I mean? Like, but I love improv. I think it brings me so much joy, and it's one of my favorite things that I wish more schools just in general taught people, because it feels like such just a wonderful thing to get people kind of working as a team. The yes and like mentality. It's great.
I kind of wish that they had like a choice from college because of doing public speaking with a little bit of improv, because that would probably be the best way for people to do that for all freshmen to take that course.
I think so. I think there's something about improv being everything that we do, just regular conversations. This is improv, and I just feel like it would make people a lot more comfortable. And, instead of that structured, here is your speech, you do this in this order. And it's like, okay, well, that's, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. So maybe we shouldn't plan for everything to go that way. Yeah.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And by the way, theater kid as well, because I did theater from sixth grade to 12th grade.
Hey, nice, nice, nice. What was your favorite show that you did? Anything that stands out?
I gotta say, it's the most obscure musical ever, but working. And I had a monologue who's like from Ralph Warner, and like basically had a whole monologue. I never had a monologue before
Uh-huh.
in ages, and I was able to do that. And one of my longtime friends was actually a goth kid, played like goth, and I was like trying to sell him, and he's like played it like intimidating. I'm like, never mind, and rushed him off the stage.
Never mind.
Yeah, and then I gotta say, that was high school. Oh, I forgot Sir Andrew from 12th Nights.
Ooh, that's cool. We did a lot of Shakespeare too. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I would play with swords. And I'm like, okay, it was I injured one of my classmates.
Oh my gosh! Wow, you got really committed to the 1200s version of it. Like that's
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You got
I'm
the
sorry,
time period of
Freddie,
medieval
if you're
Europe
watching
going.
this. Oh, I'm sorry, Freddie.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's very theater. I love theater, and I love it, and I like watching people do it. It's amazing. But however, speaking of improv and theater, you had the opportunity to be. Not a lot of people can say that were a former Disney cast member as well. So
Hmm.
while you were studying improv, you had the opportunity to work in a Disneyland resort. It's one of my favorite places on the planet, and you also
Hmm.
had the opportunity to be friends with Spider-Man. So, what were some of the most favorite memories working as a Disney cast member?
Oh man, there's so I was a Spider-Man. I was stormtrooper, entertainment host, and occasionally friends with Tigger, which was so much fun to kind of have the diversity of it. But Spider-Man was the best, and it was great because you just got to be like these little kids' heroes, and they would come up and they get so excited, and like I have a lot of memories of just like last kid of the night, and you get to walk around the park with them and things like that, and like just really have a lot of freedom and a lot of fun. Messing with other cast members was really fun, whether that be like Loki and Thor or like Captain America was right across from us. And so there was you had a lot of fun getting to just play. And honestly, it was a lot of that improv. It It was a lot of that, like coming back up of that yes and having fun, just making it a good time for everybody, and it was so much fun. I think that there's probably two of my favorite things, which is uh first off, I had a little kid come up to me and his name was Trevor. I go, "What's your name?" He goes, "Trevor." I go, "You want to swing on over here with me, Trevor?" And he goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I don't go by Trevor." I go, "What? What do you go by?" And he goes, "My superhero name." And I go, "What's that?" And he just goes, "John Cena." And I was like, "You're awesome."
John
uh,
Cena.
I loved that. And then the other thing is that you weren't allowed to like run in costume because if you like fall and crack your head open, that's not magical. So I at one point but I asked because I like to do things with efficiency. I was like, "Hey, can I skip?" And they were like, "Why are you the way that you are?" And my management team was like, "Fine, skip, whatever." And so I would skip everywhere I'd go. And at one point, I'm skipping off stage. I've just finished a set, and a manager is coming on, and he looks at me and goes, "Spider-Man, what are you doing?" And I go, "Skipping." And he goes, "No, turn around." And there are like 14 little kids skipping with me. And I just didn't know. And so I turned around, I go, "I'm starting an army." And I dropped down and we had a great group hug moment. But it was a lot of really sweet moments like that. It was really fun.
And I gotta say, you create a lot of magic, and that's just an amazing type of magic. And I truly admire everyone that works at those resorts and make those magical moments. And I gotta give a shout out to all the cast members I've met back in September 2023 when I visited them. You were all spectacular.
There are a lot of really cool people that work there. And I think it's really nice that that you got to experience it. And I hope that more people get to experience it. I think that what's really cool is if you're nice to like cast members and things like that, you don't know how much they appreciate that. Like there are just some really like wonderful people that like you're kind of beaten down by certain things, and then when a lovely guest comes along, they're like, "You are delightful. You've restored my faith in humanity." Um, but it's great.
All right, so I want to talk, since you brought up Spider-Man, I want to talk about one of your pieces of work because you shared it on
Mhm.
October 7th, 2021, and that received over 1.7 million likes on TikTok.
Uh huh.
So why you decided was like say, okay, it's time to share that I was friends with Spidey.
Because we essentially if I'm right, so no, was it November or December 2021?
October 7th, 2021.
October 7th. Oh, okay. Um, so I shared that because we all got furloughed and like COVID was happening and we all thought that like we're like never coming back. Um, and I was just kind of like I've done my time with Disney, like I'm happy about it, but like I just want to tell these stories. I have a lot of like pictures and really nice stories. And honestly, like this is more of a I told happy, wholesome Disney stories beforehand, but I never gotten to tell like too many like the really detailed ones. And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." I also was no longer Spider-Man. Spider-Man, so I'm 6'1", and that was like the old Spidey height that you could go up that high. But the new Spider height is Tom Holland, and Tom Holland is he's very compact. So I just wasn't it anymore. So I was like, you know what? That's fine. Let's have some fun with it. And since TikTok has like a age cutoff of like I want to say it's like 13, I was like, you know what? Everybody over 13 is kind of aware of what's going on. So like we're just gonna have some fun with it, and I'm not ruining it for kids. And yeah, just wanted to go for it and had some fun. Honestly, it was a lot of fun. There's still quite a few stories that I've not shared, but I've shared most of the happy, wholesome ones. There's some wild and crazy ones that I'm like, oh man, maybe we keep these to preserve a little magic. But yeah.
I think that's a good idea. So I gotta say, we gotta move on to Spider-Man, and we gotta talk about scam hunting. So when did you get interested in becoming one of the internet's top scam art because you're giving CoffeeZilla a run for his money. And
I don't know. I still respect the hell out of those people like Jim Browning, Scammer Payback, CoffeeZilla, Kit Boga. Those guys are really impressive. Especially like there's a lot of them that you see that have like good like amazing tech skills. For me, weirdly enough, it was actually while I was Spider-Man at Disneyland. Disney would pay for your college education. I already had 2 bachelor's degrees, and so I got my master's degree through Disney because they'd pay for it 100%. And I was just like, "Ah, this this is a free thing. I like free things. So yeah, I got my master's degree in Homeland Security. It's actually right here. It's my MBA with concentration in Homeland Security. This is it.
Oh wow, guys, that's pretty
Funny
cool. And
enough,
you're showing that. And guys, you need to
yeah.
watch. If you're listening to this on our audio platforms, please go back to the YouTube channel to watch this because it's a really nice degree.
Thank you. It's right now. It's got the mustaches as eyebrows and mustaches because I showed it about 2 times in a row, but I never wanted it to come off as pretentious, and so I was just like, now I've got like a little outfit for it, and it's just my sidekick. Um, but yeah, so Disney paid for that, and that kind of gave me a good baseline. And what I did after that is I was actually moving back from Los Angeles to St. Louis, which is where I'm am now. And when that happened, I got scammed. Somebody I went through a legitimate company who then accidentally set me up with a scammer who stole $712.50. And it's funny, people hear following numbers and they're like, that translates to money. It doesn't. And so I was like, that's all the money. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. But because I'm a stand-up comedian, that's what I do for work. I was like, man, I got time. You know what I mean? Like I got time during the day to. So by the end of the first day, I had their driver's license, home address, the names they were using, family members, all that stuff. And so I called their local FBI office. And I go, hey, I have all this information. Can I report this person? They go, why do you have all this information? I go, don't worry about it. And I explained the story to him. And the guy then goes, the FBI agent goes, oh, I actually just got scammed like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to know that the FBI is also being scammed like that. But yeah, reported that. And then it got so much traction on, it was actually the CEO of that company that accidentally set it up for me, gave me my money back. Really cool dude. His customer service team was not handling it well. And I just DM'd him on LinkedIn. I was like, hey man, this is what's up. Like, can we talk about this? And he was like, dude, that sucks. I'm so sorry. Yeah, let me hit you with this. And so that was nice. Other than that, yeah. And so I posted it, got a whole bunch of traction. Then someone tried to scam my 79-year-old Aunt Anne, and I was like, game on. So since then, I've shut down call centers. We've reported like mass attempts. We've reported like spear phishing. I've hunted stalkers. I've caught a few child predators. And that was an accident. I am not built for that. I just had a mom at one point email me and it was like, hey, my son's being trolled online. It's not trolling. So yeah, we've ended up doing a lot of things and that's been really cool and worked with a lot of cool people to get that done and been very thankful for the results that's given.
I gotta say, kudos to you on that, all that stuff. I'm like, wow, you just that's a perfect resume for the FBI.
Right. So funny. I studied a lot of things that would probably make me like a good FBI agent, but never got like any sort of interview or anything like that. So that's why I went into comedy. I was like, well, if I can't figure out how to get a real job, I'll do jokes, and then here we are. So it's weird. It has been cool though because some government agencies I've found out do in fact watch my content, and it was the Department of Transportation that reached out to me first. That was like, hey, can we have your data on all these on all this like stuff that you just pulled? And I was like, oh, I submitted to the IC3. It's like, it's easier if you just give it straight to me. And I was like, okay, I can. But didn't expect the DOT's investigative wing to know my email, but that's cool.
I gotta say they're really good researchers, and that's all I gotta say. And
Yeah.
so that's basically the thing. So how I want to talk to you about because the thing is, it sounds like you've had a lot of challenge. Like, have there been any challenges establishing yourself as as not just a content personality, but like as like a scam hunter, a comedian? Because there's so many lanes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is, at the end of the day, especially like doing content creation, I feel like the things that you're successful with are never what you expected or necessarily wanted them to be. And then you're always assumed that you're something else. Yeah, I've had people that have described me as the scam hunter, the comedian, the just social media guy. Normally it's like the TikTok guy. It's just kind of all across the board. But at the same time, I don't necessarily mind that. I like being the jack of all trades. I think that's fun. I don't think I'm going to be the master of any, so might as well be the jack, And with that, I've enjoyed every part of it. I think that I've been able to film a comedy special. My first one's available on Amazon and like on Spotify, and my second one we just filmed. while I also now am able to give like corporate speeches for, and I've got a couple of those coming up for cybersecurity. And it's just been a really cool kind of spread, which I never expected, but it's been really fun. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. And it's amazing that you're growing really well. And I gotta say this, you can be the jack of all trades. I'll be the Jacob of all trades.
Yep. Ah, that's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, because with the reason why I've been doing this for so long and I've been interviewing the people that I've interviewed is because I don't want to be, yes, I'm in entertainment, but I don't want to be in one box. I explain to
Mhm.
people all the time that said to me that why are you doing this niche like reality specs or reality TV? I don't want to be like typecasted or something like that as a journalist. I rather like some of my heroes, the great Regis Philbin, Barbara Walters, not to mention
Mm.
Katie Couric and like Peter Jennings. They talk to everybody,
Yeah.
and you have to be a master of that.
And I think that it helps an audience just kind of show a diversity of like of 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 insight, understanding, and ends up, the more well-rounded people are. It's weird. It feels like we went from like the idea of like the Renaissance man uh to such a niche version of like you just become really good at one thing. But the problem is that like then it creates like people that aren't necessarily ready for the entire spread of the human experience. And I feel like getting to interview a whole bunch of different people and getting to do a whole bunch of different things really gives that existence, which is really nice.
Thanks, Ron. So let's get back to talk about content creation. So we already talked
Mhm.
about Spider-Man, so that was wonderful. But however, one special that I talked to you about before we got on and started our recording process was drinking with your grandma. Can you describe that story?
Yeah, I can. So that is for my first comedy special called Girlfriends and Girlfriends. The first one is one word, the second one is two words. And that was just a series of like poor dating decisions, and then like the girls that were in my life, the women in my life that like made it all worth it because they were like there, they had my back. One of them was my mom and my grandma. And one of the stories behind that is the fact that on my 21st birthday, I turned on a Monday. I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, because that's where I went to college, which is considered Beer City, USA. Now, I'm not a beer guy. I didn't know that at the time because I really hadn't drank at all until I was 21. Because I am just a built-in rule follower. I just can't stop myself. That's why it's funny. All the scam stuff. It's like I do it to the letter of the law. I like to imagine that I'm lawful chaotic, but so I was like, yeah, it's a Monday, and everybody, all the college kids had like drank the like week before or like the weekend, and so it was like they know like I didn't have. Plus, a lot of my friends were like either just my age. I had a buddy who turned exactly on my birthday, or but he was out of town, and then there were other people, and so I was like, everybody's a little younger. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. And so I called my mom, like an adult. And I was like, yeah, I'm just probably not going to do anything. I might wait till the weekend. And she's like, no, I'm getting your grandma and we're coming. I was like, heck yeah. And so, yeah, they drove 8 hours from St. Louis, Missouri to Grand Rapids, Michigan. They got up there, and that night at midnight, we were at this bar. It was like this biker bar called Mulligan's in Grand Rapids. And it's just like this divey place that I loved. And I used to perform improv actually out of there with a group called Fictional Friends. Which is funny because my mom was always like, I wish I actually met some of them that night. And she was like, oh, thank God I met some of them because when you tell me you're hanging out with your fictional friends, it sounds like you are very lonely. Okay, like that is not it makes it sound like you do not have real people in your life. But no, it was great, and we had fun. We started drinking. I got back, my mom had 9 shots laid out. My grandma started drinking Jaeger, which I'd never had. We take a double of that. Oh, I've still never drank Jaeger again, but I just always see it and I think, grandma, it's nice. Yeah, but I got KO'd and I was taken out like I was done. My grandma and my mom took me home and we got breakfast the next morning. But it was there was also a buddy of mine who I shall not name, but he likes to partake and possibly distribute good feeling items.
Oh yeah, I
And
know what you're talking about.
yep, yeah. And so and he thought my grandma was cool as hell. And so he just he just slid my grandma like free the good feel things. And so I
Oh
was
God,
like,
not that. Oh my God, I feel sorry for your grandma.
well, and my grandma was super cool about it. She was like, thanks, man, appreciate it. And like, but she never did it. She just she turns out she flushed it. She told me years later, by the way. She didn't tell me night of. But I was like, man, on my 21st birthday, my grandma had the kind of street cred that she got free substances. My 81-year-old grandma, but I was 21, and everyone was like, look at him trying. So it was a good time. I had so much fun, and they were great. Yeah.
Awesome. I gotta say that. I wish that my grandma was able to drink with me.
Right. Oh, it's one of those like moments that I will never forget. I can weirdly enough encourage go drinking with your grandparents. They're gonna have cool stories and be cool.
Alrighty, so let's talk about confronting fake Niall Horan.
Oh, I love that story. So I got I got a like one of the submissions for my scam thing, and it's like, hey, this was pretending to be Niall Horan. First off, I love the celebrity scams because they're always going to be funny. There's like that's way less. I get a ton of scams. The most common thing that I get is sextortion. Do not send naked pictures of yourself if you're listening. Like, never do it. You don't know who's going to get access to it, and you don't know. It might not even if you trust that person, you might not trust the person that's going to get access to their stuff. I just give that as a general warning because I see probably 5 to 8 of those a day. And also, like if you're a minor, I can't go after that stuff. That's really dangerous content. Go to your police. IC3 form on the FBI. Anyway, sorry for the but celebrity scams are so much fun because it's just like they're kind of gonna be goofy. They're obviously gonna be like they're the Wish version of that celebrity, essentially, is what they're trying to put together. And it's so funny. So I put together a like an AI generated version of a girl. I always set myself up as the perfect victim for this scammer, so they feel just super comfortable. I start talking to him. I'm saying that my name's Sophie. I'm hanging out. But I only have access to like the internet when I'm at my grandparents' house because my parents are like super strict. And I'm then talking to him about we're talking about music like very briefly, and then he just goes, "Have you ever heard of crypto?" And I was like, "Ah, there it is." So yeah, he tries to get me to download something called Trust Wallet. I am making it more difficult for like I'm like, what? I don't really get it. Oh my God. And so I'm having him click certain links, and I'm pulling more data as I get him to click different links. I got his home address, I got his IP address, I got cell phone he was using, what type of device he was on, like what I got it to what update he was on. Like we were just pulling everything. And then at one point, I was like, you know what? Let's go the full way. And this is all alleged and hypothetical, of course. But yeah, cloning websites is not particularly hard. And so I cloned Google, sent it to him, said, oh my gosh, well, if you want to see like what I'm doing right now, you can log in using your Google account and we can do that. He logs in. There's his username and password gets sent to me. He does not have two-factor authentication on, so this is just an easy click in. And so I get in, and I know I have access to everything that he has on Google, which includes all of his search history. And my man had not heard of incognito mode. I nothing illegal, thankfully, but I was expecting like to see like funny things, which I did see some funny things. The fact that like he had to Google multiple Niall Horan facts, that's hilarious to me. That made me so happy. He had to Google. He was also apparently pretending to be Harry Styles on other things. So he's Googling like Harry Styles' parents, Harry Styles' like height. My favorite though is that it's just like a series of like adult searches, and then the last one is just Montana time zone. Why?
Oh my God.
What's going on? So I turned on a couple things. I downloaded all of his data, and then I kind of revealed that I was not who I thought he was. And he'd been so rude to Sophie as a strong, independent 19-year-old woman named Sophie. I was offended. And so I start confronting him, and then I start sending him his search history. And
Oh
he didn't love that. And eventually he blocked me. But since I had access to the Google account, I just went in and I changed the password and shut everything down so that he can't get access to it again. And yeah, it was fun. Not all of them go as cleanly as that one did, but it was and that guy would click on anything, and it was just so funny to be like, I know all your things. And that was great.
I gotta say, scammers beware and don't start something you can't go back on.
Well, that's what I always feel is just like it's funny. He was googling tech help tips or tech help tips, and I was like, dude, if you're trying to scam somebody digitally, maybe don't be using like geeksquad.com to try to figure out what's going on here. Like that's not a good look. This is a bad look, man. Yeah, I try to, you know, some scammers, especially depending on which country they're in, you can get them like arrested, you can get them prosecuted, which is great. Some countries just don't. But you can always put the fear of God in them, and that's always very fun when it's just like, hey, I know this, I know where you are. I think that's always fun because at the end of the day, like I've also met some people that like, there was a scammer who kept trying to scam people through like my TikTok. Essentially, they kept trying to comment on things that were like they were like, oh, this person can help you out. Which, by the way, if anybody says they can help you out for like minor tech stuff, they can't. The only companies that recover like real money lost that's like hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's so expensive to try to get that back. Um, and so I started messing with that guy, the guy pretending to be a hacker, and I was like, hi, buddy. And I started posting videos about it. He goes, is this youth pastor Ryan? And I go, hi. And and he ended up confessing to like who he was, and he's like he's a 16-year-old kid out of Nigeria, and it just sucks because like honestly like Nigeria is definitely a hotspot for it. They have almost the same population as the United States with an 11th of the populations or like the size, which is crazy to think about. The government's super corrupt, and then you also have like there's not a lot of access to both education or employment, and it's just really sad. And so, and especially a lot there's a crazy birth rate that's like out of control, and so a lot of these kids aren't being taken care of. So a lot of the people that I busted, they're younger guys, and it's like I actually work pretty regularly with the UN when it comes to like either refugees or with like charitable contributions, and so we're actually working with them right now to just see what can be done to kind of help, especially younger people in Nigeria, to try to like get out of that stuff. Because yeah, West Africa is like a huge scamming hub, and it's such a bummer because I actually recently helped a guy who was Nigerian. Well, he still is, but like he's Nigerian, he's an artist, and someone kept setting up fake profiles and scamming the people that were trying to be his clients. And turns out it was another guy in Nigeria, but they won't prosecute that guy, which sucks. And so it's just really sad because it's a sad cycle, and it also affects so many of them where they get scammed too because just proximity is easy. So yeah, it's a weird world to delve into to be sure.
Absolutely, it's a weird world, and thank you so much for all that you do for those kids. I think you're going to be changing lives one day at a time.
I sure hope so. I think that it's and we'll see how we can get it done, and hopefully I'll have more concrete steps as we move forward because yeah, it's just something that like I really want to help, and I'd rather treat the source of the problem than the symptom of the problem. I feel like that's always the way to do it.
Absolutely. So we got to make things go back to a little bit lighter stuff. So one thing that made me howl and cackle with delight was your video on TikTok called Nintendo's Diverse Past still influences Pokemon to this day. You posted that on November 25th, 2023. And as of this recording, it has 2.9 million views.
Yeah. So I don't I don't know what triggered it fully. I think I saw a buddy of mine who did a video about like about companies that do weird things. Yeah, I think it was my buddy Tony. And one of the comments was like, "Did you know that that Texas Instruments, the people that make the calculators, also made the Javelin anti-tank missile?" And I was like, "What?" And turns out, yeah, they do. And it's because they make semiconductors. And that's why is because it needed all that information to be able to like hit really accurately. Um, and then I for some reason was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it like conversational style because people on TikTok really seem to like it. And it turns out everywhere they like to see kind of like an acted out, almost like a sketch for some reason, because I love doing like just informative, like sit down, explain what's going on. Here's what's up. It's very just straightforward. But people love seeing the little sketches. And so after that one, I did General Electric because General Electric did the GAU 8 Avenger, which is a 30 millimeter anti-tank Gatling gun. It's got enough power that when you shoot it while the plane is flying, it'll slow down the plane. which is nuts. And it's General Electric. They make washing machines. What is happening? Um, and then it just kept going. It kept like spiraling, essentially out of control, where I kept figuring out all this stuff. And Nintendo was a fun one. I knew Nintendo had been around for a while, but I didn't know all the weird things they'd done, from love hotels to a taxi cab service. They used to make playing cards with like explicit images on them. Like, I was like, what is going on? Uh, and then yeah, the most recent one I posted as of the recording is Samsung, because Samsung, yeah.
I was about ready to say that because that was hysterical.
Thank you. And so it's fun, and I get to do the sketches as the person who is asking, who knows the basics of what this company creates, and then the little guy who is. I always think it's like a childlike wonder the companies must have when they're just like, we'll do everything. And so it's little guy, little glasses, little hat, and he's just a kid, just trying his best to put all the things together, and it's just fun. It's been so much fun. I actually have another one recorded that'll go out today for AMF, the bowling alley people. Did you?
Ooh, really? Because the thing is,
Yeah.
they rebranded back in Kansas City. It's now like Bowl Arena or something like that.
Bolorama bought them in the 80s, I want to say. So they actually ended up getting sold off, but they did everything from bicycles to scuba gear to the fun one is nuclear missile silos, nuclear reactors, and they invented a rail car launching system for ICBMs. It's insane. And I think what makes it make more sense, AMF, everybody thinks, oh, it's AMF, it's AMF, American Machine and Foundry. That's why they do all that stuff.
To think that that bowling was something that they picked up and everybody knows them for that, but not the machine.
Yeah. Oh, they're really good at resetting bowling pins. Yeah, and you know what looks like bowling pins? Nuclear missiles. And it's like, whoa! Yeah. So that's a good one. I'm getting ready to do Hyundai too, which I'm very excited to do because I actually drive a Hyundai. And so I was like, not sponsored, would love to be, but not. I drive a Hyundai, and I was like, oh, they seem pretty normal. And then I was going through some stuff, and they've partnered with Samsung on some weird stuff, and then they have like a bunch of weird things. It's silly.
Oh my God. And like when he gets Toyota, let me know.
Oh, I will. Toyota's gonna be fun. The Japanese companies are well. I did Subaru and Mitsubishi, and those were both insane. Subaru does the Japanese version of the Apache attack helicopter, and Mitsubishi did like the Zero, which was the most popular Japanese fighter plane in World War II. Like they, and then Subaru made an anime. No idea why Subaru produced an anime, but they did. So yeah.
That must be interesting. Was that before Dragon Ball Z or during Dragon Ball Z? Dragon Ball.
I think. Well, I mean, how long has Dragon Ball been going on? Let's be honest. It's which variant? So that one I think came out in 2011. Their anime. So it's definitely it's post the original.
Oh yeah, so way post the original, before Super, I believe.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we gotta start winding down our conversation. So Ryan, where can my audience find your content and connect with you and say, where can they find your shows?
Youthpastorryan.com is the best place to do it. That's where I put all my shows and things like that. You can also follow on Instagram at Ryan Kelly Comedy, or TikTok and YouTube at Youth Pastor Ryan. And yeah, that's where all my content gets posted and all that stuff. And we'd love to see you there. And if you got scams that you want me to look into, you can submit it at youthpastorryan.com. There's a scams and spam submission form. I will say I am only one guy, and I've gotten over 4,000 submissions. So give me a sec. But I I try to take a crack at as many as I can.
All right. So guys, did you miss an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast? Visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And head over to the blog that started all, jakes-take.com. You can find out what happened on Masked Singer Season 10, what's currently going on with America's Got Talent Fantasy League, and make sure you check out my Best of 2023 series. So, Ryan, thank you so much for helping me kickstart Season 5. I really appreciate it.
Jake, thanks so much for having me, and happy to be here, and appreciate to have your take on this. Thanks so much.
Awesome, guys. All right, Ryan, you need to come back soon. And also, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.